All right, President Trump also tweeting today about the Federal Reserve, saying if the Fed had done its job properly, which it has not, the stock market would have been up 5,000 to 10,000 additional points, and GDP would have been well over 4% instead of 3%, with almost no inflation. Quantitative tightening was a killer, should have done the exact opposite. So far, the president has floated two names for his pick for the Fed board, Herman Cain and Steve Moore. A little bit more on Herman Cain in a minute. Joining us now, President Trump's pick for the Fed board and Heritage Foundation's visiting fellow, Steve Moore. Good to see you, sir. Appreciate it. You wrote the book. We have it right here, Trumponomics, the Inside America First Plan to Revive Our Economy. During your book tour, you were emphatic in your support for the president's economic policies. Proof you said that things were good. Now he's saying, well, the Fed's done something wrong. How were things so good if the Fed was screwing it up so badly?
Well, look, Leland, I was fortunate enough to play a role in the presidential campaign, working with Donald Trump, putting the tax plan together. I think it's worked spectacularly well. We just got another data point on Wednesday or Thursday of last week, the lowest number of Americans signing up for unemployment insurance, like 50 years or something like that. So it's a very healthy economy. And by the way, people keep asking me, will you be, this is one of the controversies of my appointment, will I be independent of Donald Trump? And I will. I think a lot of the stuff he's done on the great.
Is the undertone of this answer, which is a long one, that you may not necessarily agree with the president's tweet there?
You know, there's elements of it actually I do agree with. I actually do. If you go back to the summer of 2018, last summer, the economy was growing at 4%. We had full employment, rising wages, and no inflation. I mean, that's a pretty beautiful picture for an economy. And the Fed started raising interest rates, and that's when and independently of Donald Trump, he was criticizing the Fed. I criticized them as well, especially in December when they raised rates in the stock market.
We'll make this easy. Name me something. Name me a monetary or fiscal policy in which you have publicly distanced yourself from the president in the past 2 years.
There's a number of things. First of all, I think that Washington is spending way too much money, and I wish Trump were vetoing more spending bills.
Give me something on the Fed, from the Fed standpoint.
On trade policy, I'm more of a free trader than he is. On the Fed, he likes low interest rates because he's a real estate guy. You know, real estate guys like it. I'm in favor of a reduction in rates now, not because, the main reason is because I'm worried about deflation in the economy. Now, actually, the last few weeks, things have looked pretty much better. So I'm going to analyze the data when I get over there, but I'm going to stick with what I said back in December. I think the December rate increase was a disaster. Trump does, too, and I think it should be reversed.
To be reversed? Okay, something that obviously you're going to be asked about it when you get to the Senate confirmation process. Right now, it was you and Herman Cain. Herman Cain's nomination looks to be on life support.
I hope not, because I think Herman Cain is a great choice. I mean, I think having a businessman would be fantastic.
We put up the 4 senators who had come out basically publicly and said they're not voting for Herman Cain, which effectively would kill the nomination. Either way, you said, I can think of nobody better qualified to be on the Fed board than Herman Cain. Really, nobody? You can't think of a single other person in America.
Well, look, what I meant to say is, look, both my choice and Herman Cain's choice is unconventional. You know, we both will probably go over there and we'll be thinking outside of the box. And what's wrong with that?
You're a little bit more in the riverbanks than 999 and Herman Cain's problems.
By the way, I think 999 is a cool plan, but here's the point. You know, why does it have to be, Leland, that you have to have all these PhD academic economists over at the Federal Reserve? They're the same people who made the mistake in December in raising the rates. I think having people who represent business, represent farmers, have policy experience like I do would be a healthy, breath of fresh air for the Fed. And by the way, so, I think the idea that everybody has to be a PhD economist is just wrong. By the way, the chairman of the Fed right now is not a PhD economist.
And you're not being nominated to be the chairman. It's one of many that vote and is part of this. We'll button this up real quickly when it comes to the issue of the gold standard, because in the past you have talked about being in favor of the gold standard. Take a listen.
We need to go back to a gold standard. We really do.
This is about monetary policy, and let me just say this. I like the idea of going to a gold standard.
So have you changed your views or modified them?
So, by the way, some of those tapes are like 25 years. I still had dark hair back then. So, you know, look, my position is I want to have a dollar that's stable in value. Okay. That's how we have a currency. My good friend Steve Forbes, who's on your show often and on Fox often, he's a big advocate of the gold standard. I don't think I would go for a gold standard right now. I do want the dollar to be as good as gold. I want it to retain its value.
You understand why that causes consternation and concern? No, I'm saying in terms of the independence from President Trump. You understand why the questions are asked about whether
Donald Trump is
independent.
I don't think Donald Trump is for a gold standard. In fact, what I'm for is using prices. The purpose of the Fed is to keep inflation and deflation under control, to keep it stable, not to try to. You can't stimulate the economy by printing dollars, right?
We'll button it up real quickly.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to make a decision on the Fed that was potentially politically inconvenient for President Trump heading up into the re-election?
Yes, because I think what you want from the Fed is stable prices. You know, you don't want to just inject money into the economy. By the way, that's a failed formula. You can't create growth by printing money. If it were that simple, Mexico and Uruguay and Zimbabwe would be the wealthiest countries in the world, right? So you don't, and by the way, growth does not cause inflation either. That's where I differ from a lot of the, just because you have more people working and higher wages, that does not cause inflation, okay? That's your economic lesson today.
I appreciate it. My professors at Northwestern would be happy to do that. I got an extra one.
I'll debate them anytime,
Continuing economic education here on America's News Headquarters. Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for coming in.